I speak from experience when I say this, time is going to sneak up on you. One day you're convinced you've got all the time in the world, and then you blink and 10 years are just gone. And instead of waking up 10 years from now wishing you started sooner, I want to share 15 things I learned the hard way so you don't have to. And the first one's uncomfortable, but it needs to be said. Nobody's coming to save you. Not your family, not your friends, not your boss, and definitely not that opportunity you're hoping shows up one day. For a long time, I believed that if you just kept doing the right things over and over again, one day everything would magically work itself out. But that day never came. Life doesn't give freebies, and 99.9% of bosses don't care about your dreams. And your parents can't be doing everything for you forever. But here's the thing that changed everything for me. Nothing changes if nothing changes. Your dreams don't come true because you thought about them. They come true because you acted. And I know every excuse because I've used them myself. I'm not ready. My skills aren't there yet. I just need one more book. I need to do more research. At one point, I read 368 books in a year to try and understand everything about personal development before I started my YouTube channel, just so I could feel more ready. And guess what? You're never gonna feel ready, and there's no perfect time. Every meaningful thing I've done, I started before I was prepared. See, my YouTube channel, I'm still learning how to talk to the camera every single day. It's not easy. The business I've built, most of them weren't perfect when I started. Every day something breaks, something changes, something needs fixing. But I knew what I wanted, and that was enough to move. Because until you take action, until you actually do something, nothing changes. So take responsibility for where you are right now, and take responsibility for where you're going. Because nobody's coming to save you, not your parents, not your friends, not your boss. And once you accept that, you stop waiting and you start building the life of your dreams. And moving on to the next one, you can do everything right and still fail. Because sometimes you're gonna do everything you were told to do. You worked harder, you put in more hours, you didn't blow money on stupid shit, and things still didn't go your way. Let me give you an example. I was about to build a home. Plans were done, I had the pricing set, everything ready to go. And then what happened next was COVID hit. See, what happened in Australia, development pricing doubled within 12 months. So now I'm sitting here with an empty block, no build, no development, and it wasn't because I was lazy, it wasn't because I made some reckless decision, it was just bad timing. And that stuff messes with your head. I watch other people make money and I started asking myself, what did I do wrong? Why isn't this working? I was doing what I was supposed to do, and honestly, it messed me up for a little while. And here's the point that I really want you to hear. Doing everything right does not guarantee everything. Life is not a merit-based system, it's not a checklist, and it doesn't owe you a reward for following the rules. Now, that doesn't mean you stop trying. It doesn't mean effort alone doesn't matter. What it means is this: effort alone isn't always enough. Sometimes you're gonna do the work and you're gonna win. And sometimes you do the work and you're gonna lose. And the lesson here isn't to stop trying, the lesson is to stop expecting life to be fair. Because when you let go of that expectation, something important happens. When things don't work out, you stop beating yourself up, you stop spiraling, you stop freezing, and instead you adapt. And this one honestly kills me because after 25, time hits fast forward. In your late teens and early 20s, you think, I've got plenty of time. I've got time to figure things out. I've got time to try new things. I'll fix that later. And then you blink and you're suddenly married, you've got a 2-year-old son, and you've got another one on the way. And what's crazy is now that I'm 34, my late teens and early 20s felt like yesterday. See, nothing dramatic happened. There was no big moment, no huge turning point. The hours drifted away, days blended into weeks, weeks into months, and months into years. You keep telling yourself, I'll start soon, next year will be different, once I get a handle on things, I'll make my move. But here's the message I really want to land. Thinking you have time is how you waste it. There's no notification that pops up saying, hey, last chance to try that thing. You wake up one day and realize, where the hell did the last 10 or 15 years go? And here's something most people don't realize. Time doesn't move faster because you get wiser, it moves faster because you get busier, you get more responsibilities, and you get more commitments. So stop telling yourself you'll do it later, because later disappears quicker than you think. If something matters to you, stop waiting for later and do it now. And this one leads perfectly onto the next truth. Regret doesn't come from trying and failing. Regret comes from not trying at all. I know that firsthand. I run a business that operates in 2 major cities in Australia. I went to launch a 3rd city and it failed. And that hurt. It bruised my ego and there was no way around it. But here's the thing. Over time, that pain faded and I could honestly tell myself, at least I tried. What doesn't fade is the quiet thought that shows up when you're alone. What if? Having an idea that you deeply care about, a version of the life that you can see so clearly, a business, a move, a decision that you never acted on, that will eat you alive. You feel it when you're bored, you feel it when you're scrolling your phone, when you're lying awake at night. That voice shows up and says, it's too late now, I lost my chance, I messed it up. And most of the time, that regret didn't come from failure, it came from waiting. It came from doing nothing, sitting on the sidelines. For me, failing at that new location, yeah, it definitely bruised my ego, but it also gave me clarity, it gave me the opportunity to reset, and I got to build a better structure, a stronger plan, so that when I launch again, success is far more likely. But if I kept waiting for the perfect moment, like most people do with their dreams, that regret would have followed me for decades. So here's the point that I really want to land. If there's something you keep putting off, something you keep avoiding, something you keep saying you'll get to one day, pay attention to that, because it's probably the thing that you need to act on now. And next up, talent is common, persistence isn't. Talent is seductive, right? It looks effortless. That ripped guy with good genetics, that mate who started a business and it just took off, that YouTuber you followed with 1 million subscribers, he just got lucky. But let me just stop you right there. That's not what's actually going on here. What you're not seeing is the boring part, the quiet part, the part where nothing seems to be happening. And this is where most people quit. Not because they're bad at the thing, but because it stopped being exciting. Most people get addicted to instant gratification. Everybody likes starting something new, whether it be a new routine, project, a new identity, but very few people stick around when it turns into repetition. See, I don't struggle with ideas, I don't struggle with starting things. Where I and most people struggle is the middle. Because what was once new and exciting, what gave you the initial dopamine hit, turns into repetition, and repetition is the real test. Because here's the truth, most people don't fail because they lack talent. They lose the game of life because they stop too early. See, consistency can be boring. It's repetitive, it's not sexy. But consistency is the closest thing we have to compound interest for your life. And here's the part that really hurts. Most of the time, people quit right before they reach the breakthrough, right before things click, right before momentum build. So if you're in the middle right now and it feels boring and it feels slow and it feels like nothing happened, good. That's where persistence is built. Keep going. And on to the next one. I hate to break it to you, but nobody's watching you. You think they are, you think everybody's paying attention, you think everybody's judging you, they're not. Let me give you a simple example. I remember being at school and having to do presentations or read out loud in front of the class. I was standing there sweating, my heart was racing, stumbling through my words, convinced everybody would remember that moment forever. But let me flip the perspective. When you were sitting in the audience watching someone else present, what were you actually thinking? Most people were sitting there going, oh shit, I'm next, I'm next, I'm next. We think all eyes are on us, but in reality, people aren't paying attention to us at all, because most people focus on the most important person in the room, and that is themselves. And this matters a lot, because the fear of being judged is one of the biggest reasons people never actually start. They don't speak up, they don't put themselves out there, they don't take action, they wait until things are perfect, they wait until they know enough. But most of the time, that's just procrastination dressed up as preparation. I know this firsthand. When I first started my YouTube channel, I thought I needed to get good before I started, but the truth is, you need to start to get good. I remember hearing Ali Abdaal say that the first 50 videos you post are basically you to get comfortable in front of the camera, and then the next 50 videos are when you start actually adding value. See, that's 50 to 100 videos before you even get good. And here's the best part. If you mess it up, if you look awkward, if you say something dumb, the worst case isn't humiliation. The worst case is nothing happens because nobody cares. So stop acting like everybody's sitting there judging your every move because they're too busy with their own life. And this next one is something most people learn far too late in life. Health is non-negotiable. Most people think health is optional until it catches up with them. When you're young, you can get away with a lot. You can eat shit, you can stay up all night, drink too much, never move, and nothing breaks. And then one day you wake up and you're 30. Your back hurts, your knees start hurting, you're tired all the time, and you don't really know why. Here's a quick personal example. About 12 months ago, I was sleeping on average 5 to 6 hours a night. I was getting up around 3 a.m. every morning. And I did that for probably 2 years. When I finally started getting proper sleep, what I realized was this. For 1 to 2 years, my body was stuck in a stress response. I was literally living in fight or flight. And when I increased my sleep to 8 hours a night, everything changed. I was calmer, I had more energy, my thinking was clearer, and I actually felt like I could actually enjoy life again. See, health isn't about becoming a fitness influence. It's not about becoming shredded. It's not about chasing some extreme physique. Health is a foundation your entire life sits on. So start with getting a proper night's rest, moving your body 3 to 5 times a week, cleaning up your food, even if it's just during the week. When you do that, everything else gets so much easier, your energy improves, your mood stabilizes, your focus improves, and life feels lighter. See, health isn't optional, it's the base layer. Everything else depends upon it. And moving on, don't underestimate the importance of mental health. Growing up in my family, there was a history of mental health challenges. They had bipolar, schizophrenia, and other mental health illnesses. See, being surrounded by that from a very young age showed me firsthand the damage that mental health issues can do if they're ignored. If you don't pay attention to your mental health, it can take you places you never intend to go. And sometimes it's going to lead you to decisions you regret. Because if you don't deal with what's going on in your head, it's going to eventually start controlling your daily actions, whether you realize it or not. So for me, I learned to check in with myself. Where's my head at? What's actually going on right now? And then I work through it. I talk to people, I don't avoid it, because mental health isn't a set and forget thing. It's not something you fix once and you're done. It's ongoing. It's something you need to consistently work on. For me, what helps comes back to the basics. Daily movement, good sleep, drinking water, eating clean, meditation, journaling. All of that is part of my mental health practice. So don't underestimate the importance of mental health, because if you ignore it long enough, you'll end up living a life you hate and wondering how you got there. And this one goes completely against popular belief: stop chasing happiness. I kept hearing self-help and motivational speakers saying, be happy and be positive, happiness is the key. And what happened was this: when I wasn't happy, which is normal, I got pissed off, I got frustrated, I got depressed. And why was that? Because I'd start thinking, why am I not happy? Am I doing something wrong? Everybody else around me says I should feel good. And chasing happiness all the time sucked the fun out of everything, because I'd be constantly checking in on myself and I'd be asking, am I happy doing this? Am I happy doing that? And if the answer was no, I'd assume something was broken in me. But eventually it clicked. Happiness isn't something you feel all the time. It's something you feel in moments. You feel it when you get that first kiss with your partner. You feel it when you get promoted. You feel it when you book that overseas trip. And then it fades. And that's not a problem, that's completely normal. There's a thing called hedonic adaptation. If you felt it all the time, it would become your baseline, and then you wouldn't really feel it anymore. So instead of chasing happiness, what actually works is chasing meaning. Meaning is doing something you know is worthwhile, even when it's boring, even when it's uncomfortable. For me, that's building businesses. There are days where building a business is stressful, frustrating, straight up hard, but I love the game. To me, it's like playing Battlefield or Age of Empires. And the same with personal development. I find a lot of meaning in it, but reading for hours every day isn't always easy. Sometimes the material is dense, sometimes I don't fully get it straight away, but I know the outcome, so I stay with it. Here's the truth: if you chase happiness, you'll probably feel disappointed most of the time. But if you chase meaning, happiness shows up as a byproduct far more often than you expect. And if you're born in the 2000s, well, maybe not just the 2000s, you're probably gonna hate this one, but your phone is robbing you. This one's hard because these days, most parents give their kids phones at a really young age, so it becomes part of your identity, part of you. Your phone turns into your wallet, your keys, your house, your lifeline. Most people genuinely can't live without it, and I notice this all of the time. Whether it's a Friday, Saturday or Sunday, my family and I, we go out a lot for food. We go out for lunch or dinner, and almost every time we'll see another family or group nearby, and they're technically together, but nobody's talking, they're just sitting on their phones the whole time. And see, the thing is, when you're on your phone constantly, you get so disconnected from the people around you that you slowly forget how to actually connect with people on a personal level. And that's the first problem. And the second one is this: we've all been there. You pull out your phone for a second, one scroll, one check, and before you know it, 20 minutes are gone, whether it be Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. And it doesn't feel like much in the moment, but if you're losing 3 to 5 hours a day, which is the average a person is doing, what does that add up to over a year? And I'm not even gonna do the maths because I want you to feel that pain. So here's what I did. It's pretty simple. I deleted the apps off my phone and on my computer, and I logged out of all social media completely. Not because I'm perfect, but because it creates resistance. Every time I wanted to check something, there's friction, which means I'm not gonna be distracted as much. Look, if you want to sit on your phone all day, that's your choice. Just don't lie to yourself about the cost, because if you replace that wasted time with something that actually mattered, you could radically change your life, your income, your relationships, and your future. And this one's a bit of a curveball. You can't build a new life while clinging onto your old identity. Look, I love self-help. I read roughly a book a week. And one thing you constantly hear in self-help is level up, become more and more. And I agree with that to a point. But when I really reflect on what change actually feels like, it doesn't feel like adding. It feels a lot like loss. And what do I mean by that? More often than not, something has to die in order for something new to grow. You've got old routines, old habits, the old version of you that everybody understands. And I get it. Letting go of that's hard. It feels safe, it feels familiar, it feels predictable. But deep down, it's also making you miserable. Let me make this very, very clear. You cannot step into a new life, a new version of yourself, while clinging onto the old identity. And for the king or queen to be born, that version has to go. And here's the part that people don't talk about. Letting go doesn't always feel empowering. A lot of the time it feels like grief, it feels like loss. Sometimes you have to let people go. Sometimes you're gonna outgrow your friends. And sometimes you have to give up parts of your life that no longer fit. And that hurts. But this is what growth actually looks like. Growth isn't always about adding more. Most of the time it's subtraction. It's about removing the noise, dropping the baggage, letting go of what no longer serves you, so you can focus on one or two things you actually meant to do. And until the old you dies, nothing really changes. And there you have it, some of the things I had to learn the hard way. I hope you got value, and I'll see you in the next video.